Bayomahu Ye'ochel, we're speaking about the Toda, Chav Beis Lamed. On that day it should be eaten, Lo Sasir Min Ad Boker, Ani Hashem. You should not leave it over till morning, Ani Hashem. Bayomahu Ye'ochel, Lo Bal Asir El Shtei Shchita Amnas King. Shem L'Kvod Lo Zman Achilo, to tell us the Zman Achilo over the Toda, or Kfar Kosuf. Ubsar Zevach Toda Shlom of Ani Hashem. Dami Gozar Al Dover Al Yeko Beinecho. Yeah, you know, but here we're speaking, this is the Toda, about the Toda. Because here, now, firstly, I was going to ask a different question. It says, Ani Hashem. I mean, we're talking about Pigul. The Kohen shouldn't have an improper thought of Pigul, that since the time to eat it is only one day, don't have in mind you're slaughtering to eat it beyond that period of time. Ani Hashem. Dami Gozal Dover Al Yeko Beinecho. I mean, what would I think? Why should you take it lightly? Does it say Ani Hashem by all the others? I mean, Ani Hashem. Ani Hashem we find, you know, something which is... No, because this has to do with Machshava. We had earlier that a person, let's say, B'fnei Seva Tokum, Ani Hashem. So the Gemara says in Kedushin, let's say you're sitting. So the halach is, if a Talmud Chacham comes within you 4 Dalar Amos, you're supposed to stand up. What about you sit? You make believe you don't even notice him. Ani Hashem, but Hashem says, but I know you notice him. And by turning your eye away from there, making believe you don't know, you're gonna pay the price. Ani Hashem. It's the same thing over. What's Pigul? Pigul is machshava. It's not action, right? He's slaughtering. The man looks like the greatest tzaddik in the world, but he has in mind shlo, right? He's going to eat it, not bisman achilo. Ani Hashem. Dami gozer al dov al yeka beinecho. You know, very often we say, you know, the Chofetz Chaim makes it a point in the Hagdoma, the Shmir Saloshin, when he's the Chofetz Chaim, all the reasons why people take Lashon Hara lightly. It's only words. No, it's only words. What did I say? It's words. Did I do an action? Over here, there's a machlokas by people to even have to verbalize it. It's just thought. If you think it, it's already people. So, what did I do? But if HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you're not permitted, al yekal beinecho. If Hashem says it's something to be concerned, don't take it lightly. That's the Ani Hashem. Not that I am Hashem. I know what you're thinking. Ani Hashem. If I dictate it, that means you can't take it lightly, because I wouldn't be saying it otherwise, unless it's something which you can't take lightly. We said that earlier. We already spoke earlier about time the Torah being a day. It has to be on the day that's brought. No, but he says no. He says lo bol azir el shtei shchita. Why? Shem l'kvod lo zman achilo. He says it. No, achila means the time that it could only be eaten. If it's telling me to what degree it could be eaten, it can only be eaten. That says earlier you can only eat on one day. So what does that have to mention again here? Because this is speaking of the shchita. Even if he's going to eat it one day, but if the Kohen has in mind it's going to be eaten beyond that time, it's pigul. It's not valid. Okay. The value. Don't undervalue what I'm telling you, because if I'm telling you, you should take it seriously. You know, many years ago, my Rashi Zech Livrocha, when he was young, he was a genius. He was a child prodigy of Rosh Hashiva. So there was a person in Europe. He used to tell over the story many times that there was a person in Europe. Reb Chaim Brisker said he never saw such an Eloi, such a genius in his life. His name was Reb Itzel Ponovitcher. He was the rabbi. He was chief rabbi of Ponovitch. This is before the Ponovitcher Rav, and his name was Reb Yitzchak Rabinowitz. And he wanted to make a yeshiva only for geniuses. And he went from yeshiva to yeshiva, gathering the greatest minds of Europe, teenagers. And he was going to make a yeshiva for them, and the genius of geniuses, he will say shiurim, he will lecture to them, and this day he's going to produce the ultimate. My Rashiva came to Slobodka, he was 13 years old. He finished Shas by the time he was 14. From 13 to 14 he finished Shas. And because he was an orphan, so this Alt of Slobodka, Rav Nosson Finkel, was concerned, because in Lithuania there were certain people who had, even though they had great minds, but their hashkafa was questionable. It was questionable. So he was concerned they would influence him somehow to draw him into, this modern way of thinking. It was the Enlightenment, it was Haskalos. Even within the Lithuanian yeshivas, you had people who had these views of, what should be. So he lived in his house. He took him to his house, and he was like, he almost like raised him. Even Slobodka, the Alta Slobodka he was 15, the Alta Slobodka was a man in the 60s already. But nevertheless, he lived in his house to watch over him, that he shouldn't have this negative influence. Rabbi Panovich comes to Panovich, and he heard of him, and he goes to him and says, I'd like you should join my yeshiva. He says, I can't join unless I speak to the Alta. The Alta, for Nosson C. Finkel, the Alta Slobodka gives me permission to go, I'll go. But if not, I can't go. So he comes in, he was already 16 by then, so he comes into the Alta's office. And the altar, the window faced, there was a river. I think it was called the Vistula. A river that ran by the Slobodka in Russian, or Lithuanian suburb. Kovna was the city. Slobodka was the suburb of Kovna. So the river that separated between Slobodka and Kovna was this river, was the Vistula River. There was a bridge that went over. So my Yeshiva comes in, 16-year-old boy, what does he know? He says, Rabbi Panovich, Rabbi Chaim Brisker says the greatest genius, he's gathering the greatest Iluyim geniuses of Europe. He's going to have a yeshiva. I would like to join. Would it be okay? And he knew that whatever he tells him is in his best interest. He says, you see the river outside through my window? You might as well go drown yourself in the river rather than go to that yeshiva. That's what he said. He had no idea why he said it to him, but if he said it to him, his world is final, and he takes it. He didn't understand why. I mean, here he's gathering the greatest geniuses of Europe to mentor them as his talmidim, as his students. Okay? Fast forward. So this is like 1920, the story. No, earlier. This is 1915, 1916. So fast forward 1953. Rashiva's in Baltimore. One Friday night, he has a knock on the door. 1953. Sees a man, coat, hat, and he tells him who he is. He was one of the geniuses who was recruited to that yeshiva by Rabbi Panovich. Brings him to the house. In those days, the communities didn't have an Eruv. Baltimore didn't have an Eruv. You weren't permitted to carry. Comes into the house, takes off his hat, sits down, gives him a cup of tea, in the yard side glass, the way they used to do it, with a piece of cake. And, they start talking, old times, this and that. He takes a packet of papers out of his pocket. He carried. And it's his Chidushi Torah, it's his novelette that he had written. So Rosh says, you're not an observant man, you're not religious. You don't observe Shabbos? No, I don't observe Shabbos. I don't observe Shabbos, I don't keep kashrus. So he says, what happened? He says, I'll tell you what happened. Rabbi Panovich would lecture 4 hours a day, the most ingenious types of lectures. The rest of the day, nobody supervised us. So we were exposed to everything under the sun. Every one of the students either became a heretic or gave it all up. That was the story of every one of them. So Rashidus, in 1953, then he understood what the Alta had said to him, you might as well go in the river and drown yourself. You understand? If the Alta Lahavdil says something, you take it face value. He understands what you don't understand. Lahavdil Elav HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ani Hashem. Does it make a difference what I think? I slaughtered it properly, this and that. Ani Hashem. If I'm telling you, Al Yekel Beinecha, don't take it lightly. Okay, let's see the Maral. I heard this story many times from Rashida. Not publicly, privately. Different. That's Poland, this is Lithuania. It's a different country. It's like you're talking about the Lower East Side of Williamsburg. There's a river separating. Oh, no, Morel. Where's the Morel? Oh, okay, I'll use this Morel. Okay, I'll find it. It's a real Litvisher story. When you speak to David Trank, ask him if he knows the story. It's possible he heard it also, going back many years ago in the 60s. Maybe, yeah, maybe no.